Welcome students. Students, in the previous class, we were discussing how the office memorandum was issued. This order, this office memorandum, which was issued about the announcement of a major policy decision, and through this office memorandum, the policy which was announced was the people who belongs to socially and educationally backward classes were eligible for 27% of reservation in the government job sector and educational sector. There in this case, while discussing about the office memorandum, we come to know how these decisions are taken in the country, who are the people involved in this decision making process. At the same time, the institutions which are involved in these cases also we get to know. So today we will discuss what is the need of all those political institutions. In the previous examples, we have seen how the government works. Students, while discussing about the office memorandum, that is the implementation of the Mandal Commission report, we come to know that in every countries of the world, there is the involvement of different political institutions. Like that, we have seen in our cases, Parliament, executive institutions, and Supreme Court and High Courts. These are the major political institutions that works in every democratic countries of the world. So, through the previous example, we come to know about how the government works. And every countries of the world, wherever there is democratic system, the country governs with these political institutions. And governing a country involves various activities, like the government is responsible for ensuring security to the people, providing facilities for education as well as health to all the sections of the society. At the same time, collect taxes and spends money on administration, defense and development programs of the country. And at the same time also, the government formulates and implements several welfare schemes for the people. So all these activities are done by different political institutions. Now, while performing all the activities, some person have to take decisions on how to go or how to do all the activities. Some person involvement is there, and at the same time others have to implement this decision. Some people are there involved in the making of the decisions. At the same time others are there to implement these decisions. And while making laws and implementing the decisions, if some cases arises or disputes arises, at that time, while implementing this policy, there must be someone to see what is right and what is wrong, so that no one can go against all the decisions which have been taken by the political institutions like legislature, executive, as well as judiciary. It is a transparent process. At the same time, it is also important that everyone should know who is responsible for doing what. People of this country, they are giving vote to elect their leaders. At the same time, the people have the right to know who is responsible for doing what. It is the right of the citizens. They should be aware of that, and they should be given all the information at the same time. At the same time, it is also important that these activity keep taking place even if the person in the key position change. Maybe at the higher position, higher level, the authorities change, but at the same time, the policy must goes on. There should not be any obstruction in the implementation of all these policies, even if key positions change in the government sector. So, to attend all these tasks, to perform all these activities, several arrangements are made in all modern democracies, so that there will not be any obstruction in the implementation or in the decision making process, even if the key position changes. That is why several arrangements are also made, and all these arrangements are called institutions. And a democratic country works well when these institutions perform their task which has been assigned to them properly. The spirit of democracy will work together properly if all these political institutions will work in their proper way. So, the constitutions of every country lays down basic rules on the power and function of each institutions, so that they will not go beyond their power, beyond their jurisdiction, and they will work according to the existing principles, rules and regulations, so that in every country, every democratic country, the constitutions specifies about the power and function of these institutions. In the example, what we have discussed in the previous class about the implementation of the Mandal Commission report, we saw several institutions at work, like the Parliament, the executive body, as well as the Supreme Court and High Courts. Here, the Prime Minister and the Cabinet are institutions that take all important policy decisions. That is clear from the previous example. The Prime Minister and the Cabinet ministers, those who are the part of the Council of Ministers, are the institutions that take important policy decisions. Likewise, the civil servants, those who are working together, are responsible for the implementation of those policies which were taken by the ministers, that is the Prime Minister and Cabinet. So you see two institutions. One is the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. These are the executive body, and at the same time the civil servants are also the part of the executive body who are there to implement the decisions which have been taken by the executive body. At the same time, Supreme Court is an institution where disputes between citizens and the government are finally settled. Students, we have seen while the Mandal Commission report was implemented, at that time some section of the society, they were dissatisfied with the implementation of the Mandal Commission report. There was totally unrest in the country. As a result of this, several people, they have filed cases in the Supreme Court against the government for implementing the report of the Mandal Commission. And at that time, we have seen this case was finalized by the Supreme Court. The judgment which was given by the Supreme Court accepted by all wholeheartedly. This is what the judiciary institution in our country. So students, today we come to know all those institutions, political institutions which works in a democratic country, like your parliament, the legislative institutions, Prime Minister, Cabinet Minister, part of the Cabinet, that is the part of the executive body, Supreme Court and High Courts, they are the part of the judiciary body. But working of all these institutions is not an easy task, because institutions involve rules and regulations, and when these rules and regulations are followed, at that time these rules and regulation binds the hand of the leaders. You have to understand, institutions involves rules and regulation, but these rules and regulation bind the hand of the leaders. So, institutions involve meetings, committees and routines. All those works of these institutions are followed through different process. That is meetings, committees and routines. So when such decision making process leads to delays and complication, sometimes it is frustrating. This dealing with the institutions can be frustrating. So one might feel that it is much better to have one person to take all the decisions. That what we have seen in the cases of non-democratic country like monarchical system and dictatorship rule. So there one person is authorized to take all the decisions. So when in a democratic country institutions works through meeting, committees and routines, it leads to delays and complication. At that time people are there to think, sometimes they are thinking that it will be better if one person will be authorized to take the decisions. That is what, without any rules, procedures and meetings, what we have seen in the cases of non-democratic system. But without any rules, procedure and meetings, when the decisions are taken, these are not the spirit of democracy. Spirit of democracy always a transparent one. It follows transparency. Maybe there is delay, complication, but some of the delays and complication introduced by these institutions are very useful for the country, for the people. Because when this decision making process leads to delay and complication, they provide opportunity for a wider section of the people to be consulted in taking decision process. So number of people are involved in these cases. When the decision making process is very late or delayed, at that time it gives opportunity to the people to be consulted in every decision making process. So that is how institutions make it difficult to have a good decision taken very quickly. Good decision making process, it always leads to delay and complication because it involves a wider section of the society. At the same time, the involvement of the wider section of the society or the delay in the decision making process also make it equally difficult to rush through a bad decisions, because it always proves useful, because when there is the involvement of the larger section of the society, it always proved to be useful. That is why democratic government insists on institutions. Students, in our country, these are the three major institutions you see in the image. The President's house, that is the part of the executive body, the Supreme Court and the Parliament. But above these three institutions, there is the constitutions, which rules and regulations are abided by this political institution. All these political institutions perform their works according to the rules and regulations which is there in the constitutions. So particularly in our India, these are the three major political institutions. That is the legislature, the parliament, executive, the prime minister, council of ministers and civil servants, judiciary, the Supreme Court. All these three organizations are there working properly in our country. So the first and the most important one is the parliament. In every democratic country, an assembly of elected representatives exercises supreme political authority, that is on behalf of the people. Why it is on behalf of the people? because parliament is an assembly of elected representatives, and all these representatives are directly or indirectly elected by the people. That is why it exercises supreme political authority on behalf of the people. In India also, such a national assembly of elected representative is called the parliament or Sansad. In our country, the National Assembly of the elected representatives is called Parliament or Sansad. This is at the central level. At this state level also, this is called legislature or legislative assembly. The name may vary in different countries because the name of the parliament, the name of the legislature varies from state to state, like Duma, that is in Russia, National People's Congress in China, Diet in Japan, Congress in USA. These are the name of the legislature in different countries of the world. But it exists in every democracy and exercises supreme political authority on behalf of the people. Now the question arises, students, why do we need a parliament? Is there a need of that? Now you see, what is the need of that? Parliament is the final authority for making laws in country. Every countries of the world, parliament is the supreme political authority to make law. It is there in every countries of the world. At the same time, it can make new laws or abolish existing laws and make new ones in their place. This is the power of the parliament. It can make new laws. At the same time, abolish the existing law also and make changes with the existing law by a new one in their place. This is the first point. The second point, why it is important? Parliaments all over the world exercise some control over those who run the government. Those who run the government means over the executive. That is the Prime Minister, Council of Ministers. So, it exercises control over them. In some countries, like India, this control is direct and full. It is directly controlled and fully controlled by the parliament. Those who run the government can take decision only they get the support of the parliament. They are authorized to take the decision, but after getting the support of the parliament. It means, you can say directly, it is controlled by the parliament. The third important point, why it is needed? Parliament controls all the money that government have. It means government cannot spend a single coin without the prior approval, without the prior information of the parliament. When the parliament sanction it, then and there only the government is authorized to spend. Without the knowledge, without the information, without the permission, government cannot spend a single coin also. It means parliament has full control over the financial matter of this country. The last and the most important one, parliament is the highest forum of discussion and debate on public issues and national policy in any country. Every countries of the world, in every countries of the world, parliament is the highest forum of discussion and debate. All the important decisions which is taken by the government, it is first discussed and debated. Then and there only, after the permission of the parliament, the government is authorized to implement the decisions. It means all those policies which are made by the government is discussed and debated in the parliament first. Parliament also has the power to seek information about any matter. Whatever the works, whatever the activities, whatever the policies are made by the government, the Parliament has the power to seek information about that. So, this is why the Parliament is needed in our country. Now, we'll discuss about the composition of the Parliament. Two houses of the Parliament. Parliament plays a central role in every democratic countries of the world. Most large countries divide the role and the power of the Parliament into two parts. In many of the countries, it has been divided into two parts. And these two parts are called the chambers. They are called chambers or houses. One house is usually directly elected by the people and exercise the real power on behalf of the people. One house is there which is directly elected by the people. On the other hand, the second house is elected indirectly and performs some special functions. It is there in every countries of the world. Like that, in our country, the Parliament consists of two houses. The houses are first the Council of States, that is the Rajya Sabha, and the House of the People, that is Lok Sabha. And the President of India also a part of the Parliament, although she is not a member of either house. The President of India is the part of the Parliament. So Parliament is consists of President and the two houses of Parliament, that is your Council of State Rajya Sabha and the House of the People Lok Sabha. That is why the Parliament, whatever the rules and regulations are made in both the houses, come into force only after they receive the assent of the President. President is the part of the Parliament, and all those rules and regulations which is passed in the Parliament, it becomes a law when it is assigned by the President. The first house, the Lok Sabha, which is also called as the House of the People. The member of the Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people and exercises the real power. The House, the Lok Sabha, is directly elected by the people, and it is the real power enjoyed by this house. What is the strength of the house? The maximum strength of the house is 552. Try to understand, students. The strength of the house, the maximum strength of the house is 552. Out of this 552, 530 members are elected from the states and 20 members are elected from the union territories. So in this way, it is 552, and the rest 2 members are nominated by the President from the Anglo-Indian community. But at present, our Indian Parliament is consist of 545 members. Generally, the strength is 552, but at present, it consists of 545 members. But our Lok Sabha is the temporary house of the Parliament. Temporary house means what? The members are elected for a period of 5 years and it can be dissolved before the completion of the terms also. Generally, the members are elected for a period of 5 years, but the house can be dissolved before the completion of the term. That is why this house is also called as a temporary house. The next, Rajya Sabha or the Council of States. The member of the Rajya Sabha are elected by the member of the State Legislative Assembly. Try to understand, students. The member of the Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people, whereas the member of the Rajya Sabha, they are elected by the member of the state legislative assembly, and they are having the power to take some important decisions, perform some special functions. That is why this house also called as the Council of States, because here the members are elected by the member of the state legislative assembly. What is the strength? It is not more than 250 members, maximum strength, 250 members. Out of these 250 members, 238 members are elected by the member of the state legislative assembly, and rest 12 members are nominated by the president from persons who have achieved excellency in the field of literature, art, science. This is how it consists of 250 members. But at present, Rajya Sabha consists of 245 members. As you know, Lok Sabha is a temporary house, but the Rajya Sabha is a permanent body. It cannot be dissolved. Here the members are elected for a period of 6 years, and 1/3 of its member retired after every 2 years. It cannot be dissolved because 1/3 of its member retired every 2 years. That is why it is called a permanent body. Now we have got the composition. Now the question arises, as we have discussed, there are two houses of the parliament. One is your Lok Sabha, another is your Rajya Sabha. But the question arises, which of the two houses is more powerful? Sometimes question arises in our mind. Lok Sabha is there, Rajya Sabha is there. Which house is more powerful? It might appear that Rajya Sabha is more powerful because sometimes it is called as upper chamber and the Lok Sabha is called the lower chamber. So sometimes people are thinking, or we are also thinking, that Rajya Sabha is more powerful. But this doesn't mean that Rajya Sabha is more powerful than Lok Sabha, as it is having the name of upper house. Our constitution does give the Rajya Sabha some special power over the states, but on most of the matters, Lok Sabha exercises supreme political power. Let us see how Lok Sabha is more powerful than Rajya Sabha. An ordinary law needs to be passed by both the houses. While different ordinary laws are made by the parliament, at that time it needs to be passed by both the houses. But if there is a difference between the two houses, the final decision is taken in a joint session in which members of the houses sit together. If there is any differences arises between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, while passing the ordinary bill, at that time a joint session of both the houses is called. And here in the joint session, both the houses will sit together. And because of the larger number of members in the Lok Sabha, the view of the Lok Sabha prevailed in such a meeting. So here, who is powerful? Lok Sabha is powerful. It is proved. The second one, Lok Sabha exercises more powers in money matters. Lok Sabha exercises more power in money matters. Once the Lok Sabha passes the budget of the government or any other money related law, the Rajya Sabha cannot reject it. Yes, one power is there in the hand of the Rajya Sabha. That is what? The Rajya Sabha can delay it by 14 days or suggest some changes in it. The Rajya Sabha has the power to delay the money bill only for a period of 14 days, or also has the power to suggest some changes in it. But the Lok Sabha also has the power that it may or may not accept these changes. So here in the monetary matter also, Lok Sabha is more powerful than Rajya Sabha. The most importantly, the Lok Sabha controls the Council of Ministers. Only a person who enjoys the support of the majority of the member in the Lok Sabha is appointed as the Prime Minister. It means here Lok Sabha controls over the Council of Ministers, because a person who enjoys the support of the majority of the member in the Lok Sabha, not Rajya Sabha, majority of member in the Lok Sabha is appointed as the Prime Minister. At the same time, if the majority of the Lok Sabha members say they have no confidence in the Council of Ministers, all the ministers, including the Prime Minister, have to quit or have to resign. And the Rajya Sabha doesn't have this power. It means if a vote of no confidence motion is passed against the government in the Lok Sabha, the entire ministry has to resign. The government has to resign, including the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. And this power is not there in the hand of Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha doesn't have the power to introduce the vote of no confidence motion. It is there only in the hand of the Lok Sabha. That is how Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, if we will compare, Lok Sabha is more powerful than the Rajya Sabha. So students, today we have completed the discussion about the institutions, that is the legislative institution in India, that is the Parliament. Now I am going to ask some questions regarding the discussion what we have made today. The first question is, who elect the members of the Rajya Sabha? The first question is, who elect the members of the Rajya Sabha? The answer is, the members of the Rajya Sabha are elected by the member of the State Legislative Assembly. The member of the Rajya Sabha are elected by the member of the State Legislative Assembly. The second question is, which house of the Parliament has the power to vote for no confidence motion? Try to understand, which house of the Parliament has the power to vote for the no confidence motion? The Lok Sabha. The answer is, the Lok Sabha has the power to vote for the no confidence motion. The Rajya Sabha doesn't have the power to do so. The last question is that, what is the strength of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha at present? What is the strength of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha at present? The answer is, at present, the strength of the Lok Sabha is 45 members and the Rajya Sabha is 245 members.